Every year, the same day comes. People around you ask, "So, what are you doing for your birthday?" And you say, "Nothing. It's just another day." But they look at you like you're broken, like something must be wrong with you, like a person who doesn't want to celebrate their own existence must be hiding something dark inside. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if the people who don't celebrate their birthdays understand something about life that most people never figure out? Today, we're going to go deep into the psychology of people who simply don't celebrate their birthday. And what we find might surprise you. The first thing most people assume is they must be depressed, or they had a bad childhood, or even they hate themselves. But psychology tells a completely different story. Researchers who study personality and self concept have found that people who avoid birthday celebrations often share a specific trait. They have a very strong internal identity. In other words, they don't need an external event to remind them of their own value. Most people use birthdays as a checkpoint, a moment to feel seen, to feel celebrated, to feel like they matter. But some people already feel that internally. They don't need a party, a cake, or 47 notifications on their phone to feel like their existence is worth something. This is actually a sign of what psychologists call high self concept clarity, knowing who you are without needing the outside world to constantly confirm it. Now, here's where it gets more complex, because not everyone who skips their birthday does it from a place of strength. For some people, the pattern started in childhood. Maybe birthdays in their house were disappointing, forgotten, or simply not a big deal. When a child expects to feel special on their birthday, and that doesn't happen, year after year, the brain learns to protect itself. It starts to say, don't expect anything. That way, you can't be let down. And over time, that protection becomes a personality trait. The person stops wanting the celebration because wanting it, mita and not getting it, could be not and hurt too much. Psychologists call this learned emotional detachment. It's not that you don't care, it's that you trained yourself not to care because caring felt dangerous. If this resonates with you, that's important information about yourself, not a flaw, just a pattern worth understanding. But let's talk about a completely different type of person, the one who genuinely, authentically sees their birthday as just another day and feels completely at peace with that. These people tend to share a specific worldview. They think in longer time frames. One day doesn't define a year. One year doesn't define a life. They're not attached to arbitrary calendars. This is deeply connected to a concept in psychology called present moment orientation, the ability to live in the now without needing artificial milestones to feel alive. Interestingly, this trait is strongly associated with lower anxiety, higher life satisfaction, and a more stable sense of self. The person who needs a big birthday celebration is often the person who uses that day to escape from everything they haven't resolved yet. The person who skips it entirely often doesn't need the escape. Here's something almost no one talks about. For many people, birthdays aren't avoided because of psychology. They're avoided because of people. Because a birthday means organizing something, worrying if people will show up, feeling guilty if someone feels left out, pretending to be happy when maybe you're not. Being the center of attention, which for introverts is basically a form of mild torture. There's a concept called social performance fatigue, the exhaustion that comes from having to perform emotions for other people's comfort. And a birthday is essentially a mandatory performance. You have to seem happy. You have to seem grateful. You have to seem like you're having the best time. For some people, opting out of all of that isn't antisocial. It's self-preserving. It's saying, I'd rather feel genuinely okay than publicly pretend to feel amazing. So, what are people like who don't celebrate their birthdays? Based on psychological research and behavioral patterns, they tend to be very self sufficient. They don't rely on external validation. They've built internal systems that tell them they're okay. Have a complicated relationship with attention. Not necessarily bad, but complex. They often feel uncomfortable being the center of focus. Think deeply about time and aging. They're not ignoring the birthday, they're hyper aware of it. So aware that one day of celebration feels almost trivial compared to what the year actually meant. Be more private than secretive. They're not hiding their birthday, they just consider it personal, theirs, not a public event. Be surprisingly at peace. People expect them to be sad, but they often aren't. They've made peace with the idea that life moves forward whether you celebrate it or not. Closing. Here's the truth. There is no single reason why people don't celebrate their birthdays. For some, it comes from strength, from an identity so solid that external validation isn't needed. For others, it comes from old wounds, from years of learning not to expect too much. And for many, it's simply a choice. A quiet rejection of social performance, a preference for authenticity over celebration. None of these are broken. All of them are human. And maybe, just maybe, the people who don't celebrate their birthday are the ones who understand that a life worth living doesn't need a single day to prove it. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment. Do you celebrate your birthday, and why? Or why not? Subscribe to The Quiet Mind.